Welcome to the First Cut Podcast, Workday Charity Open, round 2, instant reaction, and it's going to be a lightning reaction pod because we've had a couple of delays today. Greg Ducharme is here with me. It was start and stop, Greg, but we're finally at the finish line, I think.
Well, we're at least by the time you're listening to this, you're close, right? So it was exciting. Glad they got it in. It's nice to have kind of these long days this time of year because you have a little bit of leeway for this kind of thing, and it happens. So an exciting round today.
Let's start with the leader, friend of the pod, Collin Morikawa, 13 under par. He backs up his opening round 65 with a 66 on Friday. That is incredibly difficult to do, to go out and shoot two unbelievable rounds like that. And of course the kid did it.
Yeah, he's just that good. I mean, the thing is about coming off the missed cut at the Travelers, it was almost like the pricing went way down in DraftKings. I mean, we talked about how low it was. It was a great opportunity to buy on Collin Morikawa. I know I did in a couple of lineups, and I'm thrilled about it. But he looks so mature out there. He is so good, and it's really fun to watch. And he didn't just do it tee to green. I mean, he finally got the putter going, and it's a little bit. We've been saying this for a long time, Rick. Like, I don't know where this week so far ranks in his putting performance through his career, but it's got to be up there near the top. And when he does that, he's gonna contend. He's gonna win a lot when he putts really well.
Yeah, I can pull those numbers up. He's gaining 5.6 strokes putting, which we always say is kind of not sustainable, but the rest of his game is so good. He was at one point on Friday leading the field in both strokes gained tee to green and strokes gained putting, which is a deadly combination. He had, at one point, he had like a 6-shot lead on the rest of the field. He talked about this after his Thursday round, where he was asked kind of like, did you reset after that missed cut? And he kind of said, no, I didn't really need to reset, Greg. But there is still a lot of me that thinks missing the cut was probably a long-term good thing for him.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree. I mean, it just kind of relieved a little bit of pressure, unnecessary pressure.
That's it, unnecessary pressure.
He's not going to get. It's not like he's going to get to 152 straight cuts. I know he was getting close to Tiger's, the way Tiger started his career, which was like 25 or something. He was pretty close to Tiger, which is a big deal, yes, but not really, right? We care about wins, and so getting that little refresher, getting a little reboot, whether he felt it or not, I could see it. It's an exhale, and it's a big deal. And you mentioned it, Rick, a guy who's putting really well, but that's not necessarily his fingerprint. It's not his DNA. It's a lethal combination because we've seen before, he doesn't really have to putt well to win. He doesn't have to putt well to contend. So any putting round, any good putting round, especially two good putting rounds, for Collin Morikawa are a huge bonus. And it's just like, put it in the bank. You're just saving it for the rest of the round. It's going to add up, and it's going to come into play come Sunday.
It's going to add up. Yeah. So 3.5 strokes gained putting on Friday, which is the single best round of his career.
Yeah.
And in Thursday's round, he gained 2 strokes putting, which would be about the 8th or so best round of his career. So you're talking about 2 ceiling putting performances, but you're right. They all add up. He doesn't have to do that the rest of the week with how good the rest of his game is, but now he's got to go to sleep on a 36-hole lead, which is going to be 3 shots, right? So he's got a 3-shot lead over Kevin Streelman, over Justin Thomas. How does he now approach the weekend?
He's got to stay aggressive. He can't take this as a 3-shot lead. He has to try to extend it. And if you're Collin Morikawa, you're sitting there saying, how do I make this lead 6 come Sunday? I have to stay aggressive. I have to move because somebody is going to come get you. It's Saturday. It's moving day. The greens are soft. You got firepower behind you. And Hideki Matsuyama, we've seen him go low a number of times. Justin Thomas, we've seen him go low a number of times. Kevin Streelman won from like 7 back with like 7 holes to play at the Travelers a couple years ago. He can go crazy low. So you have to keep the foot on the accelerator. You have to keep making birdies. And the mindset has to be the mindset of all the great closers like Tiger Woods. Extend that lead. I think he has the maturity. I think he has the ability to do it.
Collin Morikawa, obviously the favorite at the halfway point. He is plus 163 on William Hill, but I want to talk about some guys that might be able to track him down. You mentioned Justin Thomas. You mentioned Kevin Streelman. Those two are going to be 3 shots back heading into Saturday's round. Streelman went out and shot an 8 under 64 on Friday. I mean, he was a guy that we spent a lot of oxygen on Kevin Streelman this week because he's got such a great history at the Memorial. He's such a great ball striker, but Greg, he's not doing it with the irons this week. He's doing it with this unbelievably hot putter, leading the field in strokes gained putting, gaining 8.5. Oh mama.
Yeah, again, it's one of those things we say all the time. It's not sustainable. The only problem with Streelman in this putting performance is it hasn't led to a lead. Tells you how good Collin Morikawa is playing. Like I don't look at that as a bad thing if it gets you a lead, because now you can kind of, it's in the bank, right? It's used. You've gathered all these strokes. You've gathered this, I guess you say, under parness, right? You've put yourself in position, I guess is probably the easiest way to say it. Now, Streelman, like Morikawa, is not really his DNA isn't a great putter. He doesn't live and die on the putter. So I give him I look at this as a good thing too. A hot putter is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's just bad when it's the only thing you have to cling to. And I don't look at Kevin Streelman as a guy that has to cling to a hot putter. So I think it's great.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. He is historically a great ball striker. So the fact that this is almost like bonus strokes the way he's gaining them on the greens. Now, Justin Thomas, I suppose, is the big name here, right? 3 shots back. He has now played 36 bogey-free holes at Muirfield Village, which I got to tell you, Greg, is staggering because I have seen it bring the best players in the world this week to its knees and make a lot of guys look silly. And Justin Thomas goes out here, shoots a clean 68, a clean 66. That is like I'm in awe by what I've seen from him this week.
He looks really sharp, and this is what we've seen out of him throughout the year, even before the shutdown or the layoff. He's missed a cut, and everybody's been scratching their head, and then he's come back and contended the very next week. But I feel when I watched Justin Thomas this week, like he's not like he was at the Waste Management Phoenix Open, where he kind of felt like he didn't have his best stuff, but he was just able to accumulate a good finish on basically talent alone. This week, I mean, I'm seeing a guy who looks to be in much better form, and he is very dangerous heading into the weekend. And if I'm Collin Morikawa, I mean, everybody behind you is a threat, but Justin Thomas is definitely the name that I've got circled.
To put that into perspective, both days Muirfield Village has played over par to the field average. And then for this guy to not make a single bogey at any point, like not one, not like one loose bogey is unbelievable.
It's a hard golf course. I mean, we equate it to, it gets a ton of comparisons to Augusta National because of the conditioning, because Jack designed it with kind of a little bit of an ode to Augusta National, as he has stated himself. But the real similarity is the greens, and the defenses happen around the greens, and you can hit really good shots and leave yourself in situations that are really difficult to make par. You get out of position just slightly, and it can seem impossible to make par. So to play 36 holes bogey-free is definitely a great sign. And I think it's the most underrated element of Justin Thomas's game. He's a really smart player. And if he has a tee shot under control, if he's able to get the ball in play off the tee, not in the fairway, in play off the tee, then he knows how to get his way around the golf course. He understands how to get it into spots where he has easy putts. He understands the game in that sense. And another young player who's extremely mature. He's now a veteran on tour. So, Justin Thomas has been impressive, and I expect it to continue through the weekend.
Hideki Matsuyama is going to start Saturday 4 shots off the pace. He's doing it with a little bit of extra help on the greens, but second in strokes gained approach. This is the Hideki way, and we know he's won around Muirfield Village. He won the Memorial in 15. It would have had to have been.
Yeah.
Right? Does that sound right?
Yeah.
And
he's got a number of other great finishes too.
Yeah. So he's another name that I feel like, I mean, even on the coverage, and like, I haven't thought about that much about Hideki this week, and he's going out and doing Hideki things and putting himself in position.
Definitely a player that I was watching headed into the week, right? We talked about him on Tuesday. He's definitely a guy you got to keep your eye on because his record is great around here and it suits his game. Second shot golf course. It's no surprise to see Collin Morikawa, Hideki Matsuyama, Justin Thomas near the top of the lead. And that means no disrespect to Kevin Streelman. It's just that those players are the big names in the game that are known for their iron play. And when the strengths suit the course, it's usually going to go pretty well, especially if you have a little success on the greens, the way, all these players have had some, certainly. So extremely interesting to watch Hideki. The one thing I'll say is he seems like the worst putter out of the group. That's like,
you can say that again. Greg, any group you put him in, I think he's the worst putter in the group.
So it just takes my confidence down a little bit. I don't like relying on guys that just aren't great putters. If you're a really good putter and you have some bad putting days, that's okay. Everybody's going to have good putting days and bad putting days. But for Hideki, it seems like the bad putting days can really, they can be really bad. And so that gives me a little worry. If especially if on Saturday the scores go crazy low, Hideki's a guy that could get kind of running a little cold if the putter doesn't cooperate. I'm not predicting that, but
we joked that if you back Hideki, don't watch him play, just check the leaderboard, and I still stand by that in a big way. Okay, Greg, there are some notables who are going to miss the cut. I want to talk about them, and I want to look forward to some fades and some plays for the weekends. But first, we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners. And we're back. Okay, Greg, the cut line. This has been one of the greatest cuts that we've seen. It is moving between -2 and -1 almost the entirety of Sunday. And at our point of recording this, round 2 has been officially suspended, and we will not actually know what the cut line is until Saturday morning. So let's start with a couple of these names. Brooks Koepka, who was my pick to win, so I would at least like him to make the cut, Greg, was out of this thing for the entirety of the event. And then in Friday's round, he plays his final 10 holes at 6 under, with also basically like almost holing out on 3 consecutive approach shots. Buries a 33-footer as we're starting to record. We're watching this. We erupt because he makes this bomb of a putt to get himself maybe into the weekend. And now he's probably upset he's got to hang around and maybe potentially have to guess up the jet for tomorrow. But let's just talk about Koepka and what we saw this week and where this might go for the weekend.
This guy just leaves me scratching my head. I expected a great week out of him, and it just doesn't go the way that he hopes. And then you're thinking he's done. He's slamming his trunk. He's done. But he doesn't give up, and he goes crazy in the last 10 holes, which is awesome. It's almost, Brooks needs something. He needs like a little fuel when he plays to really fire him up. Major championships obviously fire him up. The threat of missing the cut, clearly in this case, got him fired up. Somebody saying something about him, or somebody maybe tweeting at him or something like Bryson DeChambeau did a little while ago. It can fire him up, and he just needs something to go on. And all of a sudden, his game changes in its entirety. A guy who statistically for the year, not a great iron player, turns into a guy that looks like he's going to hold it from the fairway in every shot. Looks like the guy from Bethpage Black that leads the field in strokes gained approach the green by a mile, right? He looks like this superstar player. The putting stroke, right? He's not a great putter unless it really counts, and it's in a major championship. And then he's, a great putter. All of a sudden in a major, he's a great putter. And so that tells me one thing. It's not about technique. It's not about skill level. It's not about ability. It's just about drive. And it doesn't mean that he doesn't care sometimes, and sometimes he does. He needs a little jet fuel to run on. He needs something to spark the engines, and then watch out.
Let me ask you this. Should I be optimistic or pessimistic? Because his 9 holes, he had a 33 and a 41, and then a 31 and a 38. So he had like 2 unbelievable 9s and 2 terrible 9s. I don't know if I should be taking that as a positive or as a negative.
Well, as a positive or negative for what? Is it a positive or negative for this week or for next week?
I guess moving forward,
for the year. I mean, the guy could still be the player of the year. He could win the PGA Championship. He could get himself into the playoffs, accumulate some points, get into the Tour Championship, and win. He has that kind of firepower. Like, he can still, at this point in the season, accomplish great things. It's just, so to answer your question, I'm optimistic over the long term, and the longer the term gets, the more optimistic I am about him. In the short term, I'm at a place where I was really optimistic heading into the week, and now I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to get from him, and he leaves me scratching my head again. So I guess that's the answer. The longer the term, the more optimistic I am with Brooks.
Well, the one guy who's definitely going to miss the cut is Jordan Spieth. He finishes with a pair of even par 72s. On Friday, he played his first 10 holes, 2 under, bogey free. And I'm thinking, okay, this isn't so bad. Then he plays his first 13 holes at 3 under. And I'm going, okay, Spieth looks pretty good. He immediately bogeys number 5, which is what, his 14th hole of the day. He makes a double on 8 coming in. I don't know if that was his first or his second 9. That was the second 9, and is on the outside looking in yet again.
It's just extremely disappointing. Although he gave us a great soundbite, which I love, and
yes.
I mean, it made me smile about Jordan Spieth. It keeps us on it keeps him on the tip of our tongue.
Jordan Spieth, fan of the First Cut pod. I think he was exclamating. He was telling us that out on the course, right?
Well, he's either a fan or he's really not a fan. Maybe that was a sign that we're in his head a little bit. Now, look, I love this guy, but I haven't seen the improvement. I mean, there are times where I'm like, okay, he's got it, but I don't know. I don't. It's the mistakes that he makes at the wrong time. So it's a little bit disappointing for me.
All right. Well, what we've also been doing the last couple of weeks is at the 36 hole point, we try to find guys that could either fly up the leaderboard, guys you might want to back for the next couple of rounds, or guys that you might want to avoid the next couple of rounds. So the first one we can be kind of quick on because Kevin Streelman, by the numbers, Greg, we kind of already talked about this, kind of a scary guy to back moving forward. He gained 1.8 strokes tee to green. Gained another 8.5 strokes putting. But to your earlier point, this would be much more concerning if Streelman relied on that putter. But he's not. He's a good ball striker.
If it was someone like a Graham McDowell who was just making now, see, this can go one of two ways, and I don't want to spend too much time on this, but like if it is a Graham McDowell or a Kevin Na, at one side you're saying, okay, well, the putter, they're relying on the putter, they got nothing else to go on. Yeah, but they're a great putter. They rely on the putter, so it increases the likelihood of another great putting day. But at the same time, if I'm going to back Kevin Streelman here, I need something else to back me up. I don't want to be backed up by just putting. It doesn't leave me with a very high trust factor. But Kevin Streelman's tee to green game is great, and a little bit of confidence on the greens can do wonders for your tee to green game. So Streelman, for me, I'm backing.
The guy that profiles the best for the weekend, and this is, I can't believe I'm going to say, two of these names I can't believe I'm going to say. The first one is Brendan Steele. Brendan Steele leads the field in strokes gained tee to green. He leads the field in strokes gained approach. That is phenomenal stuff. Losing 3.4 strokes putting. It's probably bottom 20 in this field. Like, that is the exact profile of a guy that you would think improves his position on the weekend.
Yeah, I would say he's very likely to improve his position. I'm not sure he's ready to win yet, so I don't know if I'd go that route. But I like Brendan Steele. He's been in contention a couple times this year. He's clearly swinging great. I mean, he's had some really kind of heartbreaking calls. What was it? It was just a couple weeks ago at let's see. Was it at the Travelers? No, I think
it was earlier than that.
It was Harbortown? Did he have a really bad round on Sunday at Harbortown? I think it was.
He was in contention at Travelers. He didn't play Harbortown. He was in contention at the Honda. His last 4 results on tour are a 6th, a 4th, and 2 missed cuts. He's all over the place.
Yeah. But the other one I think of is the Sony Open, where he was right there in the mix.
That's the one.
Yeah, but I thought he was again recently. But anyway, I might be confusing him with Brendan Todd. In fact, I think I am. But anyway, besides the point, at Sony, he gets himself in contention. He's playing great. He's swinging great. and he hits the shot on 18 that was just so far left, it raised a grandstand question for us. So it was kind of a unique situation. I look at Brendan Steele as a guy who's playing well this year, and when he's swinging well, yeah, ride him. I'm a big fan of Brendan Steele, improving his position, not necessarily to win.
All right, and the last guy that profiles to be pretty good for the weekend, and this is crazy because what, 1 week ago at this time, was it 1 week ago at this time or 2 weeks ago at this time? I said his game was in shambles too, maybe.
Yeah, well, it was leading into
Travelers.
it was a lead-in. Yeah,
Right.
lead-in.
Lead in. Is Phil Mickelson, who gained 5.8 tee to green, which is about quick count 9th or 10th in this field, and lost another 3.5 strokes putting. And now I could go both ways on this, because usually when you lose that many, you are either due for a big rebound or you are completely lost. And Phil was doing the whole driver between the armpits thing during the round, trying to get his putting. I don't know what that is, Greg. You can tell me. Trying to get his putting stroke in order. And that does not instill a lot of confidence in his putting stroke for me if he's doing that mid-round.
He's working on one of two things there. It's either alignment. It's either a visual aid for alignment, but it looked like a path thing to me. So I think he was working on the path of his stroke. And yeah, it's not really a concerning thing. One, I've never seen him do it before, which I guess Phil does a lot of things. I mean, he's won a major with 2 drivers, and he's won a major with no drivers. So Phil's wanted to try new things. He's not afraid of that. But yeah, it doesn't leave me feeling extremely excited. The other thing that's not leaving me extremely excited is the tee to green play being so good. Is like, is that going to last? Is that going to hold up? Typically, it holds up for not Phil Mickelson. But then on the other side of the coin, Phil's one of the guys. He's won 44 times on the PGA Tour. How do you bet against a guy that has that kind of experience under pressure with a chance to win? So that is something I think is really underrated at the halfway point of tournaments. Guys who have actually won before.
Yeah.
And he's won a lot. My fear with Phil, and from that standpoint, is there's a lot of guys up here who are, I mean, he's going up against some thoroughbreds and some guys that have won a lot on the PGA Tour and guys that have won here.
Yeah. Here, we'll put a capper on it with a Kyle Porter special. He tweeted out some pretty ridiculous Mickelson putting stats from this week. In his first 36 holes, he made 88 feet of putts. That's nuts. That's what, 2.5 feet per hole? Like, that's crazy. Only 3 putts he's made over 6 feet, and he made 10 feet of putts on his last 8 holes on Friday. That is like, he made nothing.
I'll put it in perspective real quick. If you were playing in a match, if Phil was playing in a match, I don't think a ball would have seen the bottom of the cup. They all would have been. I mean, it's good, right? You pick it up.
Oh, yeah.
He would have just been picking it up all day. He never would have had to reach in the hole.
That's a good way to talk about it.
Not good.
All right. Well, that'll do it. It's Workday Charity Open Round 2, which I guess will finish early on Saturday. We'll see if Brooks Koepka can get a little help from the rest of the field to make the cut. And then we will go right into Round 3. We'll be here after the final 2 rounds, of course. Thank you for joining me, Greg Ducharme. You can find him on Twitter at TheRealGFD. You can find me at Rick Run Good. This is The First Cut, and we'll catch you next time.